Welcome to Outdoor Survival Items. In this video, we're going to talk about preparing for disasters. Part 1. How can you begin preparing your family for different disasters? All types of disasters share the following key characteristics. They can cause mass panic and chaos in affected communities. Some disasters can affect the availability of clean water, gas supply lines, and electricity. And many disasters are unpredictable and extremely difficult to control, especially if the disaster is caused by Mother Nature herself. With these three undeniable facts in mind, it's obvious that the most essential step in survival training, if you already have a family, is to prepare each family member for the onset of different disasters as soon as possible. In order to be fully prepared, you should consider natural and man-made disasters as potential dangers at any point during the year. Why should you be vigilant about disasters? The fact of the matter is that disasters tend to strike quickly and without warning. This applies to both natural and man-made disasters. Natural disasters, such as earthquakes and flooding, can wipe out whole sections of megacities easily. That's how powerful Mother Nature is. To ensure your family's survival, they need to be conditioned to adapt the survival mindset so they will be calm and confident during an actual disaster. What is your first line of defense during a disaster? Your first line of defense during a disaster is your knowledge of disaster preparedness and the emergency supplies, tools, and equipment that you've prepared in advance. Disaster supply kits are invaluable during an actual disaster, most especially if you have to evacuate your family to a safer location. What is a disaster supply kit? A disaster supply kit isn't just a box filled with food and water. It should be a complete survival system that also contains medicine and various survival tools and emergency supplies. There should ideally be 2 disaster supply kits, a large, comprehensive one that is closest to your family at home, and an emergency disaster kit that should have a permanent place in your family vehicle. The kits at home should contain the most valuable supplies, tools, and equipment. You can revise and modify your disaster kit whenever you wish. The one in the car is a contingency kit that you can use in the event that you are unable to utilize the one at home. In other words, you have no more time to gather the kit before evacuating. It should also be equipped with essential items such as canned and dried food, water purifying tablets, etc. What are the most essential items in a disaster kit? The most important supplies in a disaster kit are food and water. When you're stockpiling food for a disaster kit, make sure that the food is familiar, easy to open and consume, and sealed. There is no need to buy unfamiliar food such as military-style rations. The psychological impact of any disaster can be severe, so it would help greatly if your family can reach for food they're familiar with. Just having something that is familiar can help a distraught family member mentally recover from the trauma of being in the middle of a disaster. While many people stock canned or boxed food for disasters, you can also explore canning and preserving food for later use. Knowing how to preserve food is an excellent way to be self-sufficient. Plus, homemade preserved food is more natural and healthier than processed food items. What type of food should be kept in a disaster kit? The type of food stored in a disaster kit should be nutritious, high in calories, easy to consume, and can be readily stored again. It can be difficult to find a variety of food items that have these exact characteristics, so just try your best to find food that will sustain your family for at least 10 days. I've met some survivalists who store at least 6 months worth of food items in their own survival stashes. 6 months worth of food may sound excessive, but the key point here is that you're preparing for uncertain conditions after a disaster. You never know the conditions of your community after a disaster, so having plenty of stored food is a logical choice if you're preparing for an emergency. If you are unsure as to how you can go about preparing for a disaster, I highly recommend speaking to your family about it so that you can plan and implement as a unit. During a disaster, you have to learn to trust and depend each other so that everyone can stay safe.